is this? And this one is Planet of the Apes remake from Tim Burton, starring Mark Whalberg, or Marky Mark, as you'll probably be thinking to yourself as you watch this film, because, oh boy. Now this is, actually, I'm not going to hate in this film too much. There are things I like about it, but Mark Whalberg is so terrible in this film. Now Wahlberg has this thing of, with the right director and the right script, he can be decent. Like, he did the other guys with Adam McKay, which is fine. He did The Fighter, which was good. You know, David O. Russell, he can be good. With certain people, he can be good. But there's also a hell of a lot of performances that are terrible, and it's like, what the hell? Are you even awake during this film? It's like really weird. Like, he needs to be inspired by certain people, otherwise it can be really boring. So this is one of his really boring films. This is like now his, like, he tends, if he doesn't get the film and he's in the film, he tends to look clueless. Now this can work, you know, in the Transformers films are the happening, where the strange line readings is the joy of the film. The strangeness of him in the Transformers movies are happening are wonderful because they're so odd and just weird. It's like no one seems to know how odd this guy is, and it's just, if you like bad movies with strange performances, it's great. This one, it's not quite peak funny because he's just boring and doesn't have a clue, and it's one of those things. It's like, this is a film that needed Johnny Depp. Now, Burton in the 2000s got a lot of stick for having Johnny Depp in almost everything. And, you know, with the, he did Sleepy Hollow just before this with Johnny Depp. He would do Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and the Alice in Wonderland and Dark Shadows. And where he was criticised for letting Johnny Depp kind of run off and be eccentric. This part needed, the lead part in this one needed some eccentricity, some life to it, because it just needed something. Also, either not Johnny Depp, at least an actor who could understand how to be to be the centre of the storm. Here, Wahlberg is just awful. He doesn't really know what he's doing for any of the film. He's maybe an astronaut, but he doesn't seem to understand what an astronaut is. The character's a bit of a pilot, but he always crashes. He's meant to be smart, but he does dumb decisions all the time. He's meant to be a person who gets the apes' wrath pretty quickly because he's maybe staring at them and making them uncomfortable. Wahlberg cannot do that. So it's like he looks like the dumbest person in the room and they're meant to be scared of him, so it just looks weird. And most importantly, some of the apes who are on his side, I might see someone in him that would make them betray their own kind and try and change the system of the apes. Doesn't happen because he's so stupid in this film. This character's so stupid and so inexpressive and so dull. I mean, he has to make the big speech at the end about we can do this, we can fight the apes to the humans. It's really bad. It's really embarrassing. It's like, yep, you are our ex-terrible pop star. It really is, you know, just woefully bad. It's if you want to see a bad performance, a terrible sleepwalk performance, this is one of them. This is just abysmal, which is weird because everyone in the ape suits are amazingly good as the apes, and I think basically Tim Burton was making a film about a living nightmare, about a guy through his living nightmare, where he starts on a normal world and then he goes through this time loop and ends up in a Planet of Apes. And he was trying to suggest someone living through a nightmare, like a Twilight Zone feeling to it all, and every decision he makes it worse for him, and he needed an actor like Johnny Depp with some energy to actually suggest that. Like, he's trying to be logical, but everything that happens, it gets worse and worse. And he needed a leading man who could actually suggest that will still be a leading man. Instead, you get all these scenes that just drop dead because Wahlberg can't be asked doing anything interesting, and all the other actors are trying their best around him. That's what's amazing. It's like, you didn't even have to go to makeup Everyone else was a makeup with all these apes costumes, and they've all given it their all, and you're just doing nothing. See, the easiest part of the film, you're doing nothing. It's like, it's quite astonishing, like, how he wasn't fired. I have no clue. It's just astonishing. So, the film itself, I always had some fun with this film because the purists of the Apes films from the 60s and 70s hated this film when it was released. They hated it. And it was like, it's not political, it's not this, it's not that. And because I always thought the old Planet of the Apes films were a bit smug and, and a bit silly, enjoyable but silly, but pretentious, they thought they were a bit more than they actually were. I kind of enjoyed seeing them getting touched with this film, which wasn't really about the same things as the old films. It wasn't trying to do certain things that the old films were trying to do, so they get really mad. So I always enjoyed just defending it just to be a dick, basically. So, but the film, as I said, the film does have this quality of, it's a nightmare, it's a waking nightmare. Now, it starts out as a normal sci-fi movie, but it's a sci-fi movie with someone who watched sci-fi movies in the 60s, so it has a feel of the time tunnel, those kind of Urban Allen stuff, Lost in Space. All the designs are a bit like 60s style space. This is not like a modern era of space travel. This feels like we've gone from a future imagined by the 60s. And Wahlberg kind of plays a guy who could have been in Lost in Space as a bit parter or something. Someone useless. But that aesthetic design, which I think alienates people because it doesn't feel like you don't have a grounding before you even get to the Planet of the Apes. You're very kind of backed off, and it's weird because Tim Burton doesn't do sci-fi. He does sci-fi at a distance, so this is weird to start with. And then you go into Planet of the Apes, and the Planet of the Apes says that just the apes are more evolved than they ever were in old films. They've got old films. There were lots of people in masks, and they were in different tribes of different types of apes or different types of characters. Like certain ones with the military, other ones with intellectuals. This one is much more chucked together. People are who they are. You have your right wing apes played by Tim Roth plays Thade, who's General Thade, who's the leader of the military, and he's one of the best bits in the film. He's crazy and he jumps around a lot and he loses it and he hates humans so much. And Roth is having a ball. He can act through the mask without a problem. He's like, the film should have been about him, basically. And I'm pretty sure when I'm watching the film, when I'm making the film, it's like, why should have been more about him? This is so much more interesting than Wahlberg. But they'll start with Wahlberg going through the Planet of the Apes as a human, and it's like all the ape, everything he runs into is always more interesting than him. Which leads to this draggy feel the film has, a sense of we're stuck with the least interesting guy in the film. Can we not go to the ones that are interesting and just leave him to the side, kill him off or something? So you've got the apes who are the warriors. You've also got the apes who are the kind of more progressive intellectuals. David Warner's the leader of the Senate, and his daughter's played by Helen Bonham Carter, and she's the ape who thinks humans are being mistreated, and she's like a activist for the humans, and she's the argument of treat them like this, it means us as well as them. And she always has a thing for Wahlberg's character, and he never looks interested. This is the big thing, is a sense of, I think if he'd brought a different actor, you could have been far more suggestive of that stuff without being overt. If he had someone like Johnny Depp who could have played with it, the way Wahlberg's just uncomfortable with even dealing with the idea that his character might be attracted to an ape. And you're feeling the film kind of wants to go there, but they've got an lead actor who's like, I'm not going there, no. And it just creates less fun for the film. And so basically the fun part is Helen Bonham Carter and Tim Roth argue with each other for most of the film, like back and forth. and their arguments. They don't have that many scenes together, but they've also a sense of they're the kind of two sides, and they're the two actors who are really into it. You've also got Paul Giamatti as a slave trader, and he's having a ball, hamming it up like crazy. He managed to ham it up through a mask and still be hammy, which is great because he's just a sleazy guy who is very enjoyable for what he is. You have Michael Clarke Duncan as the rough second command, and he's great. He's this ape with Michael Clarke Duncan voice, going through this ape costume. It just works so well. You'll get William Call's also got this other former general who was thrown out of the army, and he and Clarke Duncan hate each other. At least been friends, now they're not. So that you know they're going to clash. And that's far more interesting than Wahlberg does. It's not the most original plot, but it works. And there's all these things working. The design of the ape kingdom is this, like, it's almost this castle design but it's done but for apes with all these kind of, it's all done through the jungle. There's all these homes stuck in a mountain, but the mountain feels kind of like a castle almost. And design is very Tim Burtonish, and it's really good how they do all these apes through this arena, this area, and it really works. It's a fascinating thing. And then they leave it, and it's like, God, I really like that bit. Can we not have stayed there for a bit longer? And then they go through the countryside with these apes, and again, it looks beautiful. The apes have this Japanese aesthetic in the design, which looks great. The score by Danny Elfman's terrific. All this stuff is working, but the script isn't. Because the script just has them moving from place to place for a plot reason that's so obvious. Like, it's so obvious that the apes came from, because they were doing experiments on apes at the beginning of the film on the space station that Wahlberg was in, and he gets put through a time warp, and you know that the apes came from that ship, and he's looking for a ship, it's there, and you know it's been crashed for thousands of years before you even get to the thing. And basically the film just drops dead as soon as they find this thing, because it's like, okay, what do we do now? I don't know, have a big fight scene, yay! Wahlberg has to act like he's a tough leader, and he can't act this film at all. He just seems to have lost all ability to act. He doesn't have that much in the first place, but in the right part he can. But in this one he doesn't have a clue what he needs to do, and his inspirational speech is, we're going to die, everyone run away. And then later on he says, oh no, we won't die, I've got an idea that will give us about a minute's worth of advantage, and then we'll get killed. And it's like, so uninspired, and it's like, the film just ran out of ideas. It didn't have a clue where to go after it. This revelation as everyone could figure out. And they needed a third act that was interesting. All it got was this big fight. And you can tell Tim Burton couldn't give a crap about the fight. He likes the apes. Basically being a film because he likes the apes. He loves the actors in the apes' costumes. Anytime he's at an ape, the film is interested. Anytime he has to deal, and anytime he's him with Carter in a shot, he's interested. Anytime he's at Mark Whalberg in a shot, he looks bored as hell, as much as the audience is. He's like, it's a sense of he knows he's in trouble with his actor. And he's in problems with the plotting. The plotting, because Burton is filming it as it's a waking nightmare. It's like a nightmarish scenario where everything you're doing gets worse and worse for you. And if they had a script that actually could have got that through to the end, you should have had some interest. Instead it just falls apart at a certain point and just becomes this boring fight thing. And it's like, it's fun seeing the apes run really fast and do the big jumps and clobber humans, and humans fight back and all the rest of that, but it can only go so far before it gets boring, and it happens pretty quick and it gets boring. There's all this stuff inside in the ship as well. Wahlberg's like, oh, it's all my fault, very unconvincingly. I mean, as you can probably guess, the reason what the hell is this film is mainly because of this lead performance. It's like, what the hell is this performance? It's like, what happened? Why didn't someone say, like, you got to try a little bit? So the film ends. The apes find out they came from the humans. Peace is delivered. Thade is trapped. A monkey comes down from the sky and they think it's their messiah coming back to them. The apes have a religion all about this one character called Simos. And again, it's tacky as hell, but it's fun because Tim Burton's obviously gets tongue in cheek a little bit. And then it goes to the ending where Wahlberg, he's caused all this trouble. Instead of staying and actually trying to help him sort it out, he goes, "Oh, I need to go home." Even though all his actions means that if he gets home, he's got a court martial straight away. He's like, this sense of, you should stay. You really should stay. No, he's going. And he goes home and he finds out, because of his actions, Theodore's also come back earlier, and now it's a Planet of the Apes for mankind as well as him. And it's the dumbest ending. The only way it works is if the character's going mad, and it's on his head, or it's nightmare logic. I mean, there's no logical explanation of how Theod get back from being trapped and everyone hates him to suddenly... Like, all he could do before was actually fire a gun. Is all he could figure out of the human technology. And now he can time travel in some way. Weird. Yeah, it's the logic of the film is just don't try and figure it out. It's nightmare logic. And I think that's all the thought that Tim Burton gave to it. It's nightmare logic. The whole film has that nightmare logic feel, but it's like, it's not enough. It's really not enough. So this is a wonderfully terrible film. I still enjoy it, but it's not very good. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you later. Right, bye.